your business, you need to shut down. There are no excuses.
Hello, Super Gnome, and a bunch of other people. I didn't even notice anybody was here yet. Beautiful Saturday afternoon. People are loading in. Well, you probably know. Hello, Callie. Hello, Kevin. You're probably already subscribed, but I did actually announce that I was going live ahead of time on Facebook. Several places on Facebook. I usually, it's usually rather random. I just get a wild hair up my ass and go live with no notice to anybody. So there may be people here that are not subscribers to the channel. The button's right there, man. Subscribe. You're never gonna know when I'm going live unless you subscribe, or when there's another video, our podcast post to this page too. There's so much you miss if you don't subscribe. But I'm Uncle Birch, and I teach witchcraft for a living. You probably at least already know that about me. As of November 1st, I have 4 year-and-a-day classes going at the same time. And I actually have one spot left in that November 1st year-and-a-day class. You could still get in. I have one spot left open. I had so many people sign up ahead of time. There's a certain bank of slots for the class for people that don't sign up ahead of time. And I ended up with more of those left over than usual because people signed up over here. So pretty rare thing. You can still get into the November 1st class. It's over there at gumroad.com/witchschool, which is, of course, WITCHSKEWL, and the November 1st Witch School course still has an opening. But then there's all kinds of things over there at Gumroad. All kinds of things. I have an entire year-and-a-day course available for download, and you can download half of it. It's much cheaper that way, or less expensive. You can download half of it and then download the other half of it. There's so many options there. You can download the entire, the older year-and-a-day course and the advanced course too at a cut rate. Oh my God, there's so much going on over there at gumroad.com/witchschool, which again is WITCHSKEWL, because the Corellians, the tradition that borrowed my name, they already used the common spelling of witch school, so I couldn't use that. Hello, Diane. So, we do this little thing called Ask Uncle Birch. I do it to keep my teaching muscles strong. Keep me able to answer random questions about witchcraft at the drop of a hat. As you will see, I'm pretty good at it. Also, I do this as a community service because there's so much bad, no, I'm not even saying, evil, but just bad witchcraft teaching out there, and Wicca and all of it. There's even bad hoodoo teaching, even bad Palo teaching, even just here on YouTube alone. That's even without going to Facebook and Instagram and all the other places. There's stuff going on. So people like me that are teaching some good info, well, we have to work overtime. We have to throw out more content to make up for the other content that's weak-ass content. So, I'm providing content, because I'm a content provider. That's also my job. Let's see, I want to get the fountain in there. Okay, very nice, very nice. So, if you haven't played the game before, it's not too hard. Just try not to ask me a question when I'm answering a question. Try not to be too long-winded with your question, because I don't want to miss your question, because it was important enough. Hello, Oscar. So my students are popping into the thing. It's a good idea to copy your questions so you can paste them later after I miss them. I will miss them. I will. I'm sure I'll miss them. Have at it. We can talk about witchcraft, we can talk about magic, we can talk about hoodoo, we can talk about conjure. I've even been known to answer questions about voodoo, even though I don't practice it. Last time we were here, I answered way more than I ever should have about Palo. But, that's how we play the game. You ask, I answer. Where are you from? We're in Hollywood. Beautiful Hollywood, downtown Hollywood, California. You can hear the the rush of the city all around us. We're up in our terrace overlooking the city. It's where I do my best thinking and where we love to hang out. Hey man, I like to drink bread with my mentors. But there are many miles between us. It's cool that I crack a beer for you on my altar. Yeah, just as long as it's, not a cheap beer. Make it a good IPA. If you're gonna make an offering to me, make it a good IPA, all right? Double IPA. What do you think about Pope Runyon's evocation method? I love me some Pope Runyon. Pope Runyon reminds me of the narrator for the original Hobbit, which was like a cartoon. We didn't have a movie back in my day. We had a fucking cartoon and we loved it because it's all we had. He sounds just like the narrator from that. Pope Runyon has dramatic delivery in his invocations and a depth of audio styles that aid very much that type of work. You need to be able to evoke that, feeling that energy, and it's just like, you just listen to Pope Runyon do a thing, and I feel it, man. I feel it. It's like I'm watching something on stage, man. A dramatic presentation of magic before me. So yeah, I love me some Pope Runyon. I've been meaning to try and get him on our podcast. I should probably try. I know he's heard of me. Last time I posted something about him, he heard about it right away. So he'll probably hear me talking about him here. But yeah, love me some Pope Runyon. He does have an audio book available on iTunes that's his psalmonic work. However, I will say that the audio book is the same audio that's on the YouTube videos here on the psalmonic work. So whatever. But there are things that Pope Runyon put together. It kind of rocked my world. Pope Runyon was the first one to really break down the measurements on Solomon's wax altar for the magical mirror or the crystal ball. And it was the first I ever heard mention that if you were to position the 4 candles in the places where the exact measurements between the ball and the 4 corners of the thing are, you would be immersing the thing in the center, either the crystal ball or the black mirror, in the heat waves of 4 candles. And when we're talking about scrying is about bending our vision. Every way that we're doing scrying, whether it's a bowl of water, a crystal ball, a mirror, whatever you've got, scrying is bending your vision. So then bending our vision with the heat waves of 4 different candles surrounding the thing, you can duplicate those measurements. It's an extremely powerful experience, and it was Pope Runyon that first said something that triggered that in me. It said, that makes a lot of sense. And I think he did a crystal ball in the center, even though Solomon's work on that particular issue was for scrying mirror. All right, so that's what I had to say about Pope Runyon. If I missed stuff, is magic really just getting things into the subconscious? Not all of it, but the subconscious is where most of the magic is done. It's where most of the magic comes from. It's a lot of magics are sending symbols over to the subconscious to trigger the energies in the subconscious to make the magic happen. The symbols have meanings bigger than words over here in our magic mind, and getting it across. But now there's a current scientific study that I saw out there. I don't know the validity of it yet because they didn't name the scientists, but they believe that we go to a parallel universe when we dream. Now, I've always taught my students that there's a language going on inside our dreams, and we're trying to learn that language so we can communicate backwards to that part of the mind. If science is correct, then my students that have figured out how to do that are communicating with an alternate universe. That's cool. That still works for mine. Just want to thank you for all the readings and candles. 3 years later, everything you said happened. P.S. I am the Signal 404 chick. Oh, yeah. All right. Good. I thank you for telling me that. When you do readings, you usually only hear from people when things are going bad. And the next time something's going bad, that's when they'll tell you how the last thing you told them worked out. But they usually don't call you up and say, hey, look, hey, Uncle Birch, I don't have a problem right now. I just called you to tell you that everything's going great, just like you said it would, and everything worked out just like you said it would. Thank you. You know, hey, it'd be far less depressing job if people made those kind of calls more periodically. What are the best ways to use sexual energy? I've always said that one of the best ways to use sex magic, the energy of sex or even masturbation, is sigil magic. We want to have, we want to sigilize our intent and have that sigil posted several places in the room where we can look upon the sigil at peaks of sexual activity. Typically, women look at the sigil upon orgasm. Men look at the sigil when they're close to orgasm and then try to not orgasm as many times as they can without exploding. And then when they explode, looking at the sigil again. And then from that point on, it's typical sigil magic. We're then going to destroy the sigil in a ritual space, but we've given that sigil a whole lot of juju. Here, Marta's having a good hair day, so she wanted to. She said it was okay to have her on camera.
Oh.
Hi, say hi.
Hi.
People are gonna say hi. Okay. All right, so let me see. I think I saw another question in there. Uncle Birch, what are your thoughts on jinn magic? Did you ever work with them? Are they safe? I did work with them back in the day. I think, you know, upon reading, I think Crowley's Book of the Law kind of leads you to doing some of that kind of work. No, nothing with its own will is safe. There is no safe space in witchcraft unless you can cast a really good circle. There's your safe space. It's dangerous. You know, less dangerous is creating your own servitors that don't actually have a life or a free will. But anything that has a free will, be it a demon, be it a spirit, jinn, whatever, which is, you know, is a spirit and sometimes a demon, never safe. They're always going to require payment of some kind. The difference between servitors and a golem. It's roughly the same idea, except the golem's been given a body in which to work in the physical world, usually made of, you know, special sacred muds, this kind of thing. I believe that the golem is specifically Hebrew magic. I mean, the word golem is a Hebrew word. I'm pretty sure it's, you know, in the deep recesses of Kabbalah where that word comes out. But the methodology and the theory behind it and how the things work is pretty much the same thing as a servitor, but it's a servitor given a physical body to interact with the physical world with. I guess about as much sense I'm going to make. Guess we'll see. Looking, somebody's saying hi, Marta. Somebody's shouting Widdershins. Somebody, when we were on here last time, I think it was last time I think we went live, somebody in here, turned out to be one of my students, said, you know, we were trying to look for a theme song for our Widdershins podcast, and he said he wrote one. I said, all right, well, as long as it's not cheesy, you know, we'll check it out. And it's fucking great, and it's our theme song. We will play it. We play like 2 times a show now. We like it so much. It's a really good spell to drive away bad neighbors without being too baneful. But you want to be on there?
Not too bad. Well, the bad neighbors thing, what I was saying about creating a good situation for the bad neighbors so that they want to move out of your space.
Yeah, I think. God, there. Think about it. You're not.
What are they saying? Nothing too baneful. That's actually be doing
Yeah,
them a
I think we were
favor.
on another new page last week that came out, and that was, I suggested one thing, and then Marta suggested the other thing, and I'm going, well, shit. That's actually what I taught in class.
I mean, they'll both work, I think, but mine has less resistance.
Marta cited the path of least resistance. The idea there is, first of all, you need to do some recon, you need to do some spy work, you need to do some research on your target. What are the target's wants? What are the target's desires? What is something that target dreams of having
Somewhere else.
somewhere else, far, far away? Maybe it's a certain type of job, and you need to do some research and find an available job of that kind far, far away. Marta did a thing, she used a 4 Thieves vinegar, she wrote the person's name on it. What was that, 9 times or something you're supposed to do, or did you do it once?
I only did it once, and I wrote his birthday because I had it.
Wrote his birthday.
And then I wrote the target city where I wanted him to move, but I did my research and I saw that he has every reason to want to move to that city, so I just made it easier for him.
Nobody's ever going to resist that. Nobody's ever going to have a protection up for that.
Yeah, it's good things happening.
Their efforts are going to help manifest your spell, because they want that, and they're going to be doing the legwork necessary to manifest your spell. So that one was 4 Thieves vinegar, their name, the birth date if you had it, location that you want them to go to. A lot of people will print up a Facebook picture of the person. That's great for a 4 Thieves vinegar thing, because that type of picture...
And I didn't even have a picture.
That type of picture, if you put it in the 4 Thieves vinegar, is going to break down into the solution. The picture will no longer exist, but what was the picture becomes the liquid. Then typically you take it to a river, typically on a new moon or a dark moon, throw it in the river, turn around and walk away. I always say throw it and turn counterclockwise to start walking away before it hits the water. These questions fade way too quickly. You know, the talisman or amulet for college students constantly get bombarded with data, and it's hard to retain data.
What do they want?
A talisman for college students. Well, not so much a talisman, but rosemary.
I was going to say rosemary.
You know, carry rosemary. I used to have a mustache when I was in college. I mean, I was going to college to study to become a cop, so back then you had to have a mustache. So I take rosemary essential oil, rub it into my mustache. It's also very good for your mustache. It's very fluffy and healthy looking.
Did you have one of those mustaches that the hipsters twirl around?
No, but you could do that. You could use a rosemary oil to do the hipster mustache thing. But the idea is you're smelling it. The smelling of rosemary for remembrance. I did that. I also... you got to check with your doctor using it internally and make sure you got no liver problems. But I discovered one day I didn't have enough time to make coffee and rosemary tea before a final that I had to take, so I just threw a little pinch or two of rosemary onto in the coffee filter and made a pot of coffee. The memory stimulant of rosemary with the stimulant of caffeine is intense. Buried childhood memories came back and shit, man, but so did all the answers for that final. I aced that shit. I didn't study for that shit at all. Close to a talisman, I had a consecrated silver coin, and I put all my faith into that coin. And, true or false questions, pretty easy, flipping a coin, but I would do multiple choice. Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? I mean, professors gave me weird looks, but it wasn't against the rules. As long as the coin didn't make a whole lot of noise, it wasn't a problem. I aced those tests too. So, some college magics there. You could probably make a sigil, but you would have to, define your statement of intent. I'm sure we're just getting into that kind of stuff in your class right now. I think, Oscar. We're only 2 classes into the month so far, but there's definitely more coming. Let's see if I missed anything. Got Oscar saying thank you. Yes, you need to take notes, and then you can go back and listen to the rebroadcast. Do you know any amulets against knives and gunshots? St. Michael medallions are used for that kind of thing by a lot of people, and a lot of cops wear them. Is one of their patron saints too. It's only what I'm specifically thinking of, specifically for that. I mean, it's all kinds of protection, St. Michael, but definitely in knives and gunshots, definitely his kind of thing. It's usually done in gold. I've never seen them in any other color, and you really, that kind of thing is St. Michael. You would want in gold. And, you know, it doesn't matter if you're Catholic and you don't want to go saints. You got to realize that they all came from pagan gods anyways. And all the saints. That's why so many forms of paganism feel so comfortable working with the saints. So it's totally cool. So I am Uncle Birch. We're doing Ask Uncle Birch. Random questions about magic and witchcraft. We do this pretty periodically here, there, everywhere. I've got a couple new witch pages I do it on, and I do it on several of my pages. I do it here, and if I ever get the software to work right again, I'll do the dual broadcast on Facebook and YouTube. That always, you know, we get a good crowd in there. But we do this kind of thing, and the questions vary on where I go. You know, here we get a wide array of questions, stuff in beginning, middle, advanced level questions. It's a good carrier oil to use in general. Recently, I started using grapeseed. Grapeseed oil is a good carrier for making magical oils. It doesn't bury the scent if you add essential oils to make it smell nice, that kind of thing. And probably one of the more important things, it's not a nut-based oil. For the longest time, I was using a fixed sweet almond oil that was for making, you know, oils. But there's so many people with allergies out there, and a nut allergy is pretty serious. Does Marta have any news updates? Well, that's why we do a news show. I don't think there's a whole lot going on right now.
Let's see. Snoop Dogg named himself the sexiest man alive.
Oh, okay. Snoop Dogg named himself the sexiest man alive. Breaking news.
Checking.
How do you create a servitor and feed it? It's typically like most energy drawing operations in witchcraft. Either we're drawing, you know, energy from the earth up through our roots, or we're drawing it down from a planetary source or heavenly source through the top of our head and then out our fingers and feeding it. And we may want to give the servitor particular color energy at that point for its purpose. Can olive oil be? Hold on. Yeah, that's pretty much how you're going to do it. But I have, you know, some servitors that are allowed to procure their own food off of my enemies too. But that's an advanced technique for a later date. Olive oil would be a good oil to use if you're doing Italian witchcraft. Other than that, it's not a good carrier oil for most things. It absorbs everything. You'll be sinking essential oils in there all day long before you get any scent to come off of it. It's not olive oil. You can get infused olive oils that are towards your goal, like, you know, garlic infused olive oils. Pretty fucking common.
You can infuse it yourself.
You can infuse it yourself.
Put some garlic in there I would do it probably for a full moon cycle or something.
Yep.
Leave it under the moon.
Yep. So yeah, maybe that kind of infused, like,
rosemary infused.
Yeah, rosemary's probably going to come out. There's a lot of the sweeter scents just get buried in the
basil.
oil. Seems like they all sound like pasta.
Yeah.
All of this. That sounded good. Yeah, mix that all together. Good. Excellent brew. Let's see. Did I miss anything?
Some shrimp juice in there.
Some shrimp juice. Any plans for Hecate's night? Yes, there's always plans for Hecate's night. She just had her main festival on August 13th. Every year. Let's see, do you have any experience? Do you have any experience using a blasting rod? Yeah, well, the blasting rod was probably the first tool I made that was not the standard Wiccan type tools, which really were not Wiccan tools. They were tools borrowed from the Keys of Solomon, and it's in the Keys of Solomon that we find the blasting rod. Now, the blasting rod is a spiritual weapon, an extreme spiritual weapon. But having said that, so was the athame and so was the sword. And really, it was just the sword. But the athame, the sword, all of those blades, those were spiritual weapons. And Wicca, in its trying to be nice and fluffy, lost that portion. But as Wicca borrowed those tools from Solomon, Solomon trumps Wicca. There you go. And the blasting rod comes from that same work. Let me see. I saw a long question, but not too long. Very good. What divination candle can you use for stock market trading? Looking for it to answer yes or no questions like, is it as low as the stock market will go from the days? Will the stock continue on the trend? Oh, good. What divination can you use? I'm going, candle? Fuck. You could do the yes or no 3 tarot spread would probably be good for that kind of thing. Typically, shuffling the deck, you're going to be laying out 3 piles of cards. Starting one pile, then the next pile, then the next pile. You count out the cards. If you get to 13 cards, that pile's done. If you get to an ace, that pile's done. So 13 cards or the first ace. Go to the next pile. 13 cards or the first ace. Next pile. 13 cards or the first ace. 3 aces is absolutely yes. 2 aces is yeah, but look at that other card. 1 ace, not too likely. Look at these 2 cards here, and they're going to tell you something about what's going to be blocking that. The other one that's really, excellent for yes or no's, and one of the more accurate divination methods that I've used would be a pendulum. And so, and I like to have a pendulum be something I wear. And for a while there, I had some vendors that had pendulums that were made as necklaces. But see, like this, if I just hold all this other stuff, take my necklace off, this little Italian horn thing here made of silver, excellent pendulum, and it's always getting charged because it's always around my neck and it's silver, so it's absorbing that kind of stuff. Pendulum. Pendulum's the most accurate thing for yes or no type of questions, and even directing me towards lost objects that I've used. So I'm sure you can use it for stock market or anything else. I'm kind of thinking of trying that on a lottery ticket. You could have it swing over different numbers. I'm shocked I haven't tried that yet. All right, mental note. Guess you'll hear about it. We're doing Ask Uncle Birch. Having a good old time here. Loving the new camera. We can just barely see more than that. I know it keeps like sliding. It's not we're kind of in an angle. Where'd that go? Do you think the watering down of the mystical arts by Wicca to be passive and socially acceptable has left an entire generation of witches vulnerable to some of the less than positive forces? Absolutely. Who is that? Red? Oh, Red, I think you're one of my kids too. All right, my kids. See, even my new students. You got any teachers out there? All right, I'm sorry. Don't think me too arrogant or bragging too much, but it ain't bragging if it's true. Even my new students can kick your students' asses, all right? So just don't mess with my students, all right? Red, absolutely. This namby-pamby Wicca thing has created entire generations of people that believe that the world is made of peace, love, fairness, and equality. I mean, these are great things. These are things to strive for. When we reach these things, we'll probably all leave the planet. You know, we'll probably have evolved so much, none of us will need to be here anymore. That has not happened. I'm trying to find a good balance point for my new camera here. Pardon me while I fuck with it. Oh, there, that's better. There's Marta having her good hair day. Absolutely. These are good things to strive for. You know, I would definitely like to have, you know, peace, love, and rainbows, and unicorns farting rainbows. It'd be great. I always go back to this one quote, Machiavelli. Machiavelli said that a man that wants to be good all the time is bound to come to ruin against all the many, many men that are not good. You know, look at our government. Look at the things that are going on. Of the many, many that are not good, that will allow horrible things to go on just to hold on to a small piece of power, to literally sell their souls. The Christianist bunches of them selling their souls away just to back Trump. You knew I was going there. You just weren't sure if I was going to go all the way there. But just look at that. This is not a good place. People are not good. You know, don't be a dick, but get yours. Get yours. That type of belief within Wicca also fostered generations of Wiccans out there that still say the stupidest thing I've ever heard, that I keep hearing every fucking day. You're not allowed to do magic for personal gain. Why the fuck would you want to be involved in this shit? You couldn't do magic for personal gain. In my day...
I mean, isn't that the point?
Yeah, it should be the fucking point. This is the way the peasants get theirs. And it always was. This is, if you look back to the gospel of the witches, Aradia, whether you want to call it valid or not, it was all about the peasants poisoning the rich, cursing the priests who persecuted them. This has always been the way we get ours.
ATRs are from, you know, marginalized.
The ATRs, you know, slave magics. Of course, to curse the masters, to get, you know, they got absolutely nothing, the rawest fucking deal. The only way they're going to get anything good in their lives with a little bit of fucking magic. The white man wasn't going to give it to them. That's why every peasant culture had fucking magic. Every peasant culture had their own levels of fucking persecution. And, you know, it's always been the rich persecuting the poor. And it's never been about black or fucking white. Slavery still exists everywhere, and it's always the rich that have the slaves and the poor that are the slaves. Probably always the way it's going to be, unless we get up off our asses and fucking get ours. Now, this has led to generations of fucking witches out there wanting to spread white light and pink cotton candy across the world, but they're living in a cardboard box on Skid Row. Stupid. These kinds of things. When you hear these kinds of limiting things, like when Jesus said, you know, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. You know, this kind of thing. When a ruler tells you why it's spiritual to give up everything to the fucking ruler, well, you've got a ruler using religion to keep you fucking down, and they did that too. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar. I'll give him a kick up his ass. You know, turning the other cheek, this kind of thing. This is how they keep us oppressed. The people that keep the non-violence movements alive in leftist society are the people from the right, the people in control, the people running the thing. The government wants to make sure we all remain non-violent. They're the ones pushing these ideas anymore. It isn't anybody else. And anything they can do to keep us oppressed. Like, you know, the idea the Christians always had of, you know, you'll get pie in the sky when you die. So accept your suffering here on earth as penance for something you never fucking did. These are ridiculous ideas, and I hope anybody that watches me can think further outside the box. I'm sure I missed several questions, and this is why I tell you. Copy your questions, because you may have to paste them several times, because when I get on a roll, I ain't looking. What do you think of the knocking spirits? Are they really angelic? Ever work with them? Yes, they are angelic. I have worked with them. It's a lot of learning very specific names and tonalities for the names, which of course, you know, floats my boat. But the thing people always kind of screw up here is this angelic idea. The angelic ideas are pre-Christian. Matter of fact, there's nothing Christian that's not pre-Christian. Okay? The Jews were writing down folk history of the Middle East. And it wasn't necessarily just theirs. You know, they wrote themselves into prominent positions in the book, but most things in there were older stories that were told by previous civilizations that just happened to be recorded in the Bible. Angels were not fluffy, they were not nice. It would be more to say they were the thugs of God. We want to see Marta's tattoo on her arm.
Which one? This one?
I guess probably that one. I don't think they could see the other arm.
Black cat.
The black-winged cat. And then there's the dragon. Did you shave?
Yeah.
No tats. No tats. No tats. Okay, that question was easy enough. Okay, Kevin, go walk the dog. Well, you probably already went to walk the dog. That was a couple minutes ago. All right. Walking the dog. Our dog's over here passed out.
Azzy. Come here, Azzy. Say hi to the camera. Azzy. Come on, Azzy. Azzy, come here. No, this way. It's got to stretch. Azzy, come here.
He's a stretching dog.
Okay, I don't know how. Azzy, come here.
Buddy.
Azzy, say hi.
Over
Azzy.
here. Azzy, look. Over here, buddy. Say hi to the people. Say hi to the people. Say hi to the people. Don't lick the camera.
Azzy, he's smiling.
Azzy's often smiling. Oh my God, your breath is so hot on my knee. And I can tell it stinks. Good thing we're outside. Big ass dog.
He needs more greenies.
You need more greenies. All right, I haven't missed any questions. All right, we're doing Ask Uncle Birch. We do this thing pretty often. If you haven't played the game, there's only a couple rules. Please try not to ask me a question when I'm answering this question. Please try not to be too long-winded. And a good idea to copy your question, because I'll probably miss it a few times. How much should we pay for frankincense resin? Oh, that's pretty good. I haven't checked.
Is it getting endangered?
It's getting in danger. I probably should check. I think mine's still going for like $5 an ounce, $5.50 an ounce, and I probably should check the market rate and up the prices. And I probably should have Palo Santo off of my fucking website. I need to. There's clearly some work I need to do there. Palo Santo is very endangered. Marta's favorite beer is no longer available because it was brewed in Palo Santo barrels, or aged in Palo Santo barrels. So I don't know why they couldn't just keep the barrels, keep aging it, keep using the barrels.
Maybe they have to. I mean, maybe they didn't keep reusing it. But maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's why they discontinued it. That was just my guess.
And
but they did. I wonder if I could order it online.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna check.
I mean, even like a couple years ago, when frankincense wasn't exactly so close on the endangered species list as it is now, there were there was frankincense for like $30 an ounce. So there's different degrees of quality, and the $30 an ounce stuff seems to be really large tiers. But now I guess there's people making fake stuff out there for acacia. What is sandalwood incense used for? Cleansing, clearing, highest spiritual vibration kind of thing. Usually it's red sandalwood by now, or these days, because white sandalwood is extremely endangered and way expensive. So we were doing Ask Uncle Birch. And when I'm not vaping the weed, we always like to thank our friend from Freedom Lampworks on Etsy, also one of my students, for our new pipe that I'm not showing you right now because today we're vaping. Now that they finally admitted that it was the bootlegged marijuana vaping products that was killing people, we finally get high again.
We stopped vaping because of that, and that got old.
I think I just got too much resin in my lungs for. I mean, we'll just smoke, and I don't really know that we're ever really high. But vaping, so pardon me if I get really high and forget what I'm saying, because usually, I don't get high anymore. Ever used weed as an offering? Absolutely. Kali loves it. It's an excellent offering to Kali. There's other things. I think it was a bad idea, but somebody taught me one time to blow marijuana smoke on a Lucero in Palo. Luckily, I did not have a Lucero then until I learned not to do that. But yeah, absolutely. Anything that you like can be an offering. You giving something up, it's much better if it's something that spirit likes too. But the idea is that you're giving up something of yours. You're giving up some of your food, some of your alcohol, some of your tobacco, your weed, whatever you got. Whoops! Oh, God damn it! Raider Xavier, hey, bruh. So yeah, I was starting to get off of.
Amazon has it.
Oh my God, buy some.
Well, you know what? I looked it up on Amazon, and all they showed was like their baseball caps and stuff. And I thought, okay, maybe I can't get booze. So then I just put it in Google, and Amazon popped up. So they do have it. I don't know why I couldn't find it.
Man.
The other way.
What's the price?
Oh.
Apparently unavailable. Okay, so. Yeah, Raider Xavier was in there. He was talking about he got off of nicotine from vaping. It's like, yeah, I was just starting to do that, and then the whole fucking vaping scare started. So now I gotta go get some pods on payday and go back to the vaping and see if that'll work. It was better. My lungs were probably healthier the majority of the time I was vaping, but then I went back to the stupid thing. Let's see. I think find a job spell you can teach us. I've tweaked the lodestone spell into so many things, and I did one time. You make a sigil, sigilizing your statement of intent about the job that you want. Put 3 drops of blood on a lodestone. Put that lodestone in with the galangal roots and some basil, in a green bag with purple string, kind of a mojo bag. Excellent. Originally, when I put it out on YouTube, we used the lodestone trick for housing, but it really can be tweaked into just almost anything. But I definitely suggested it and seen it used many a time for a job spell. Goodness, that's so much better. Tasty.
I want Palo Santo dogfish head.
Thought you had it for a second there.
I wonder if I can. I wonder if I can contact them directly and see if maybe they will ship it in minimal amounts.
Wow.
June 20th, 2019.
Sunny just found a witch shop in my town centered around Cornish witchcraft. Where the hell are you? Cornish? Really? I just saw one, a Cornish Book of Ways, I think. I think that's what, I think it's something in the title, a Cornish Book of Ways. And that struck me because ways, that's an old coded witchcraft word that not a lot of people really know anymore, not a lot of people understand. The first publicly available book on Italian witchcraft was called Ways of the Strega. But nobody remembered what a ways was, except for me, or knew what a strega was. Again, except for me, apparently, because I bought the book right away. Then the book had to be republished as Italian Witchcraft. Same book. But the original title was just dripping in old schoolness, the likes of which you just do not see anymore. Are you still going to talk about the beer? What?
They occasionally release it in limited editions. $25 a bottle.
A bottle?
Yeah, they only release like small amounts. That means $100 for a pack, which already was a lot.
Man, I still got some Palo Santo left over, man. We should just like get you some porter and soak it Palo Santo.
Yeah, put some sticks in there.
Yeah. Stir it with Palo Santo stick. All right.
Okay, sorry.
Back to what we were doing over here. Let's see. Will you upload this? I want to write the instructions down. Yeah, it's automatically uploaded. I think it goes down right after I go off, and then probably within an hour it pops up, depending on how long I rant, which I've gone well over an hour with no material. But yeah, it'll be posted there. Sometimes I post it to my Facebook pages and other places, but it should definitely post here. You're welcome there, Bloodlust. It's just, thanks enough just to be able to say your screen name over and over again. Bloodlust. See, Marta got it too. It's actually Bloodlust A1A, which is kind of even cooler. I see we got some Freighter Xavier students in here too, shouting hey to Freighter. Well, those are always the best. The best mutual students that I have of any teacher out there. Okay, so except if you're Freighter, that other thing I said earlier about my students can kick your students' asses, unless it's Freighter. But most teachers out there, I just don't know any others that are that good. But we tend to have a lot of crossover people. This Freighter Xavier, that why I found out about Gumroad. I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. I can post classes there and not have to deal with all of the stuff.
About that cunt.
Also haven't found out about that too. Wait, I can post. I got a place that I can post classes and not have to deal with billing and all that other fucking crap that I hate about that job. Cool. I'll fucking pay Gumroad a percentage for that. What the fuck? What if we were in both classes? There's a bunch of people in both classes. I think the person that was just commenting is in both classes. I don't know which of Freighter Xavier's class they're in, but I think that they are in my year and a day. Have you practiced semen retention for more intense magic to strengthen your will? Hold on.
Strengthen your willy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, kind of. The thing I described in sex magic where the male is trying to build up close to orgasm and then stop. Take a few breaths, start again, stop before you get there. I mean, that's semen retention. As far as like trying to be like celibate or something like that to build up power. No, not voluntarily. I think, my early teens, I probably had, a lot of semen retention. No, I probably didn't. I was probably masturbating all the damn time, really. Did a money spell a few months back. Used the green bag. I reused the bag. Do I need to get a new one? That's debatable. I have certain things like, I got a mojo bag with an alligator's foot in it and a bunch of other stuff. But, out of respect to that alligator, losing their foot, I don't just throw that one away when I'm done with it. I spice it up. Maybe take out some of the old herbs, add new herbs, re-bless it, reconsecrate it, and I'm talking about a money one. So that one I'm gonna kind of want that to build. Mojo bags and bag spells similar to mojo bags are not quite the same as stuff that we want to destroy after we're done. They tend to be like an amulet, something that we continue to carry, continue to work with, to draw those energies to us. And there may be some mojo bags that we will destroy or bury after we're done, but a lot of them more like an amulet. That they become stronger with use, and you spice them up a bit here and there. Thanks, Birch. Hey, I'm actually working while listening. Well, yeah, because he's a hard-working motherfucker, that Freighter X. Let's see. I mean, for months. Okay, what did you say before that? Oh. No, I at least can't remember a time that I've gone without orgasm for months. But, let me know how that works out. Is Palo different than Haitian voodoo? Absolutely. Absolutely. Probably some similarities. Voodoo and Santeria and Ifa and Ocha and a bunch of African traditions work with the Orishas. Palo has a thing like Orishas and an equivalent to each Orisha, and each one of them has pretty much the same likes and dislikes, the same color scheme as the Orisha. Sometimes, the alcohol might change, one might want rum, one might want whiskey, that kind of thing, but it pretty much remains the same. Like a Lucero is exactly like El Igual on most of the prime points. Different songs and different prayers are said to them or sung to them, but there's an equivalent to each of the Orisha, and everything remains the same. Like we're scratched the Madre de Agua. Madre de Agua and Yemeya could be like superimposed upon each other, and most people wouldn't know. And quite often I've actually seen people post depictions of Madre de Agua on Facebook, and everybody goes, "Oh look, Yemeya." And it's like, I don't argue with them. But
the colors are the same. I don't know for sure about the days, but they're probably the same, like their days.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Like
I'm not sure about that.
Leg was Monday, and so is Lucero. So I bet you the rest of them are the same.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah. Das ist gut. Yes. Bless you. But so in that, African traditional religions, they're all having similarities, and that's probably the most common similarity that I see is the Orishas, and all of the things about the Orishas tend to remain intact, even with all the other variations of those traditions. So yeah, that's what I had to say about it. Sonny, if the goddess returns to our current
Oh!
paradigm, do you think our planet will have a chance to
Yes,
heal?
somebody wants news.
Somebody did want news?
Republicans could lose a second red state governor's election. You know how they lost Kentucky?
Yeah.
So now it's Louisiana. Right now their governor, I'm pretty sure, is a Democrat, the incumbent.
Yeah.
But he's not, he's like a Democrat that votes with all the Republican stuff. I guess he wants to stay in office and he has to do that. So I don't even know why he's a Republican in the first place. But it says Louisiana's gubernatorial runoff election. So it's a runoff.
Huh.
John Bell Edwards is trying to hold on against Republican Eddie Rispone. Second election in a deep red state in as many weeks that's pitted local versus national factors. Really close, though perhaps with the slightest edge to Edwards. That's the incumbent Democrat. Sorry, I just wanted to put that out there. Louisiana.
If the goddess returns to our current paradigm, do you think our planet would have a chance to heal? Maybe in a different context, maybe if the goddess actually is an alien or something, comes back in a spaceship and fixes everything. I don't know. The goddess, as I know, hasn't left because we create her out of the universal energy of all that is. This is why I find egregore creation so fascinating. It's kind of teaching humans. Look at the crow behind me, honey, look behind us at the crow. He's like sitting on my shoulder here. There we go.
Where do you see him in the thing?
He's like right on my shoulder over here.
Oh, he flew away.
Yeah, he flew away.
You heard about the butterflies.
Heard about the butterflies.
It's like, am I late?
At any rate, we have the need to personify things, these energies, and ultimately, whether consciously or unconsciously, humans created these forms, these different gods and goddesses of all these geographical locations everywhere else, even down to the Orishas that we were talking about before. We created those, and learning about how to artificially create things like an egregore kind of shows us how to, at least consciously, humans can do that kind of thing. So those energies never really left us, and they've, since the 80s, we've had a whole lot of extra energy put into them, a whole lot of revivals of old traditions. I think that energy's here more than ever. But in magic, I often say, and I hear other people say it too, it often gets worse before it gets better. So hopefully we've got a whole lot better right around the corner. The pendulum swings equally and oppositely, and it's got to swing to the extreme other side to make up for an extreme swing to that side. It's got to swing extremely to the left.
Talking about today, the red states are slowly turning blue. These are states that were always red, like West Virginia and Kentucky, Alabama. Democrats, barely, but still.
You see, that's the thing. We can call it creating an egregore, but we're borrowing energy and transforming it into that egregore. That's more accurate than we are creating, or we're using the energy of creation to create, but it's not really our energy. We didn't make it. It's just kind of there. So yeah, Gaia is pretty pissed off. But Gaia's our personification that we have put upon energy that exists. Personification. The energy form is there, the movement in nature that is a living, breathing planet, the Gaia hypothesis, is already there. We just gave it a name. and sometimes a face, a body, an imagery. You know, now we have Gaia statues. I don't really know that they had Gaia statues way back in the way back. Never saw any of those in the museums. Let's see. And yes, she'll protect herself and shake us off like fleas. So we're doing Ask Uncle Birch. I probably missed many questions. A lot going on and a lot of people talking over here. But I'm looking for the questions. Just try not to be too long-winded. What completely fascinates me. It happening. All of it. All of it. The seeming chaos lay at random throughout the universe, yet everything's perfectly designed. For the moon to have pulled upon our oceans and caused the tide which drove our ancestors out of the ocean onto the land, making them evolve, feet and arms and shit, and everything else. The mechanism that caused that to happen, those random, so many random events that had to come together just perfectly to make that happen. That's an intelligence. That's not accidental. And then taking that a step further, it's always fascinating me, the arrogance of our species to dictate the word life as adhering to our life. You know, what makes this carbon life form function? You know, we need water, we need air, etc. We need warmth from the sun, you know, food, these kinds of things. But we only look for, or for the longest time, we only thought of, you know, looking for planets that had water on them, because those are the planets that could sustain life. But here on this planet, just here, not too far from here, but Yellowstone National Park, well, turns out the yellow stuff on the stones is a life form, a lichen that lives and thrives in acid, which is basically the stuff spewing up sulfuric acid from the geysers. It specifically thrives there. Now, our previous ideas would say that life can't live there, but it does. Way on the ocean floor, there's these volcanic vents that are also very acidic and hotter beyond, you know, imagination, you know, 500 degrees, I don't know how hot, but too hot and too little light and too acidic for life to survive. Yet around these volcanic vents on the ocean floor are entire worlds of life forms that only exist in that environment. And then they found volcanic vents that stopped doing that once upon a time, and the skeletons of entire civilizations of creatures that only existed in those conditions are still there. Life finds a way, or the arrogant way in which we viewed the universe, that fascinates me, and it fascinates me that we're starting to finally, some scientists looking away from that. There's probably some kind of life everywhere, because here on Earth, there's some kind of life everywhere, and often existing in conditions that we would previously say are unacceptable for life. Life could not happen there. Life could not evolve there. So, yes, it all fascinates me, but I try to, break it down to that's as small as I can get. Let's see. Trump represents the trickster. Yeah, I guess so.
Well, the trickster has like a certain kind of appeal,
Yeah.
and I think Trump has zero appeal. So.
Well, the trickster has, a finesse.
Yeah, charm.
When it's turned out to be a trick, just the irony behind how the trick manifested later.
It's like even if you don't like it, you have to respect it.
Yeah.
And he's not that.
No.
I don't think he's good enough to be a trickster.
Well, like many people, going out there saying he's the Antichrist. Like, the Antichrist is supposed to be beautiful,
that's like too flattering,
and charismatic, and intelligent. No, it ain't that.
Yeah. He's just a small man.
Small hands.
Yeah.
So, well, we can be political. We can do whatever we want. We're on my channel. So again, as far as I know, I haven't checked. Beginning of this broadcast, I still had one spot open in the November Witch School Year and a Day course over at gumroad.com/witch school, which is of course WITCHSKEWL. Sign up, make an account there so you get the notifications when these kind of things happen, when I post new classes, this kind of stuff. I've even put my old year and a day classes up for the binge watching millennials who don't want to spend a whole year learning witchcraft. It's just fine. This is the times we live in. So I even broke up my my old year and a day class into two halves, like $150 for each half. So you can binge watch this one, and then the next payday binge watch that one. I don't know how people want to work that out. I've even bundled them, and then bundled the first level class with the second level class. And then there's the magical warfares and the spiritual warfare. Oh yeah, the art of magical warfare from my Hex Fest presentations. There's a lot going on at gumroad.com/witch school. WITCHSKEWL. And this is how we spend our day. And this is why we had to start a news show, because this is how it happens. She'll do that. She'll go, whoa, now Marta's about to tell us something horrific.
This isn't the news
we're
show.
Not going to believe.
Have you ever seen an albino turtle?
Oh, this isn't as bad. An albino turtle. Whoa. God, I gotta love the new camera on my new phone. That's beautiful. See the albino turtle. Okay. That's trippy. That is trippy. There's something everywhere. They got fish living in caves that don't have eyes.
Yeah, they don't need it.
They don't need
or like those jellyfish that don't
without
stingers, because they don't have any predators.
They live in this cove that no predators have ever gotten into for thousands of years. And I think there's people that have I think on Survivor, some show
yeah,
they
it was
won.
like their rewards where they got to swim with them.
They got to swim with the jellyfish and not get stung. I think they'd be all slimy. I don't want to touch them.
I like slimy.
Oh yeah. First, when you talk about the element of earth, it's used to heat, decompose, activate sigils. It's amazing. Could you share about how other elements work? Let's see. Earth works through decomposition. Air works through electricity. Fire works through heat. Water works through movement. Earth can direct water. Too much water makes mud. Air can also move water. It can cause tides. These are some of the common interactions between the elements. Fire can heat water and create air out of that. Steam, vapor, which is also air. I believe way back in the legends of my parent tradition were fascinatingly interesting creation myths somebody came up with. I think the first of all the elements was light, which was fire, and it described the god in space rubbing these two elemental compounds in space together to create heat and fire. And the first element, fire, was born. And then he said, when a thing is created, its opposite is also created. So it's like, tying into hermetics right away. So its opposite was created, its brother, water. And then the water entered into battle with fire, and the fire created the third element, vapor or steam. The third element was created. Now, but they didn't go exactly the opposite automatically being created at that point. And the next point, the water, the fire burned up all of the water, and what was left over were the minerals that were in the water, and the fourth element of earth was born. So there's kind of a little twist on how that happened. But it's just the myth goes that, I don't know, maybe it's the elements joining in battle. Maybe that's the part I like, why it's stuck in my head. Come to think of it, it probably was. But nonetheless, I recall that. So that's kind of the main energies of the elements and a few of their interactions with each other. And we had a whole final that we used to use before initiation, and that was like half of the questions. Like, what is the reaction of fire on water? What is the reaction of earth on air? What is the reaction of water on each combination that you had? Oh, and then we went towards the bottom. It was like, what's your public witchcraft name? And then, what's your private witchcraft name? Which is a trick question. If you answer that question, you're going to have to go get a new name. But when the student tried to hand in the homework, we go, no, that's for you. Or the questionnaire, the final exam, wasn't for us to examine. It was for them to think about these things.
Except you looked at mine.
I looked at hers. Well, she got a different initiation too, but that's TMI. You got the special treatment.
Remember when I thought I was going to be flogged?
Yeah, so we worked that out.
Yeah. What?
Nothing. Let me see if I missed any questions. They're all aghast right now.
Who's a gasp?
They are, I'm sure.
Why?
I don't know. Well, she said if you want to see something supremely cute, look up leopard geckos.
Ooh.
And crested geckos. All right, there she goes. Hey Birch, I feel that I'm able to get any physical thing I want through magic, although I have always struggled with happiness. Any tips to use magic to get a happy life? Yeah. Sigilize that. Write that into a statement of intent. Make very specifically what you want in a rhyming, 4-rhythm fashion. Dr. Seuss has the formula. You can write it in the Dr. Seuss formula. You have the perfect magical formula, but also we want no negatives. So no, not, neither, nor, nine, yet, none of that. So you can't put, and it harm none at the bottom, because none isn't recognized by the subconscious, and this is what we're trying to do. We're gonna want to make that statement of intent into a sigil. You can look here. I have a few videos on sigil magic teaching how to do that. Then you want to, over a period of maybe half of a moon, make that sigil be the last thing you see before you go to sleep. Make that sigil be the thing that you look upon at times of great physical pain or great physical pleasure. It depends, you're a masochist, you're a sadist, what have you. Look at that sigil. It's going to program it into here. Then eventually, probably on the new moon, we're going to put a whole circle up. You know, maybe burn.
My package got delivered.
Oh, really?
2 o'clock.
Okay. We'll check. So then we're going to burn that sigil on the new moon. Send that thing off. I have a whole series of videos here called Mind Control 101. Watch them. I have one called Smile. Smile when you say that. Happiness is a choice. We can choose to be happy. The state of mind we choose to dwell upon is what decides whether or not we're happy. Now, I heard this weird thing, that they were using Botox to treat depression. If you know anything about Botox, it kind of, forces their mouths into a smile, and they're smiling all the time. So the idea was that the smile, we subconsciously smile when we're happy, but that mechanism can be used in reverse. If we can force the mouth into a smile, that transmission goes backwards.
That's not what Botox is.
I know, it's not what Botox is for, but somebody started using it to treat depression because of the smile factor.
That's not what it does. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Botox doesn't make you smile. It just gets rid of wrinkles. No.
If you do it here, it's not going to pull your mouth up?
No, it gets rid of wrinkles. It doesn't pull your mouth up.
Well,
just saying.
somebody is using it for that for some reason, and psychologically, that makes a lot of sense. It's a subconscious response to happiness. We can consciously mimic the same behavior and send that signal back. When somebody's really pissing you off, when they say smile and count to 10, that kind of thing. Don't delude yourself into a false reality. But happiness is a choice, a conscious choice. We can choose how to react to the same stimuli. Here in America, we have a couple different sides looking at the same facts, deriving drastically different ideas on what those facts mean. That's just one example that we can see acting in the universe. It's like some people that have the shittiest lives in the world are just happy. They're just happy. They're not dwelling on the shittiness of their lives, so they don't feel that their lives are shitty, so thus they are happy. But then others, we might look at it and say, God, their life sucks. But they're there. It's something you can choose, and there's drugs you could take to change that. But the things that you choose to dwell on in your life. I learned a thing from the 48 Laws of Power. It's like when your life's, just everything's all fucked up and everything's, feels chaotic. Have some sort of hobby where you're just making something with your hands. Something about engaging in a physical task like that keeps you out of your head at those times. Being out of your head when you would be thinking and sending those vibrations into your universe and causing magical damage to your universe is optimal. We can have a mood, and that mood can pass within hours. Just like something can trigger us. It's like we could just stop dwelling on that and make something with our hands, do some sort of physical activity, even go work out or something. Get past that moment rather than dwell on that moment and launch into that moment. Our moods will change. There's ups, there's downs. We need to recognize when our life is up and not just recognizing when our life is down. And yeah, 48 Laws of Power is a must read. And if you do like me and you look at everything in terms of magic and witchcraft, it's worth its weight in gold. All of those things, most of those things, I can use in witchcraft. And beyond that, it shows you how power is achieved, how power is used, and how power is used against you by those that control you. Just that alone, even if you're not going to use some of the techniques, some of the techniques are pretty horrific. Some people might, not have the skin to do that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm looking at the camera right now. We're like at 80 minutes. I'm gonna go. We've had a great Ask Uncle Birch. I gotta go and check the mail before the package thieves show up. And we'll be seeing you next time on here. Make sure if you didn't subscribe so you know when I'm going to do this thing, because I usually do this with very little notice. So, merry meet, merry part, merry meet again, y'all. Salam alaikum, alaikum salam, and whatever you got. Have a good day.